Hi, I'm Eric Voss, and Venom has a new trailer that finally shows us the slimy, hulking Spidey villain, or an anti-hero, and gives us a new way to say the word symbiote.
We call them symbiotes. Human and symbiote.
That's gonna be fun to hear over and over again. Let's break down this trailer for all the details that you missed, and spoiler warning in case any of these predictions end up being right. Let's get started.
Thank you for bringing us collectively to this moment. It is a moment that so many have dreamed of claiming. History starts today.
This trailer opens with the shots of a crash site with a cleanup crew investigating this crashed spacecraft from which they harvest this symbiote. In the Marvel Comics, the Venom symbiote is indeed an extraterrestrial life form, a race that calls itself the Klyntar. The symbiote attaches itself to Spider-Man on his way back from space, turning him into a dark, impulsive version of himself and giving him this cool black suit, until Peter Parker detaches it and it reattaches to his rival at the Daily Bugle, Eddie Brock. This movie appears to keep the symbiote's otherworldly origin while bypassing the Spider-Man step, which does bring up some interesting questions that I'll get to later. Overall, we hear the voice of Carlton Drake, played by Riz Ahmed. He's the head of the Life Foundation, this movie's shadowy scientific research company that experiments on humans, because you always gotta have one of those. This movie's story is inspired partly by the Venom Lethal Protector comic, which features the Life Foundation as a survivalist cult who plan to rebuild society after a nuclear holocaust. They experimented with new forms of the symbiote to create 5 soldiers for themselves: Scream, Agony, Riot, Phage, and Lasher. In the storyline, Venom turns from villain to sort of hero, teaming up with Spider-Man to take these guys down. But the big thing to point out in this part of the trailer is that we now see at least 2 different symbiotes in the back of Drake's truck. And notice that they appear to have slightly different color tones. Maybe it's the lighting here, but one of them looks slightly bluer, and the one in the back has a blackish grayish color. It's possible that the black one could be used to make the main Venom symbiote that's attached to Eddie Brock, and the others with different colors will create one of the other symbiote forms, like maybe Riot. Let me know what you think, but let's move on.
The guy you work for is an evil person.
I don't work for him. My firm works for him. Are you gonna behave yourself tomorrow?
I told you I'm gonna do my job. I'm a reporter. I follow people that do not want to be followed. What about the allegations that you recruit the most vulnerable for tests that end up killing people?
Your time to go.
You finished, Mr. Brock.
Was that a threat?
Okay, in this section we get a sense of what kind of reporter Eddie Brock is. In real life, reporters tend to be like pushy nerds, but not Tom Hardy. He drives a motorcycle and he gets big interviews with closed-off evil industrialists that he just blows up with gotcha questions. I'm Eddie Brock, and I report the truth for Vice, and I don't give a f. We see him dining with Michelle Williams' character, Anne Weying. In the comics, Anne is his estranged wife, but here they appear to still be together. And we learn that Anne's law firm represents the Life Foundation, the company Eddie's investigating, which in the real world would be a pretty serious conflict of interest and a breach of journalistic ethics, but Eddie Brock is too cool to care about that shit. Joking aside, I really like Tom Hardy's cavalier take on Eddie Brock. The character needs to have attitude, because it's that attitude that the symbiote feeds on to create the Venom persona. Let's move on.
You had to learn how to hide in plain sight. I'm pretty good at it, but you suck. Whoever you are.
I work at the Life Foundation, and I need your help. We found something. We call them symbiotes. Carlton Drake believes that the union between human and symbiote is the key to our evolution.
Okay, here we meet Jenny Slate's character. She works for the Life Foundation. We saw her standing behind Carlton Drake in that truck shot earlier. Rumor has it that her character's name is Doris Skirth. She appears to be some kind of whistleblower, seeking out Eddie to leak some of the evil deeds that the Life Foundation has gotten into. Notice how the new symbiote we see in this shot has yellowish streaks on it. Carlton has enclosed a person in there with it, and if that color theory ends up being correct, that could make this figure Scream or Phage. Scream is the woman Donna Diego, and Phage is a man Carl Mack. Could be a woman with the long hair there, it's a little hard to tell. And yeah, let's talk about Slate's pronunciation of symbiote as symbiote.
Symbiote. Symbiote.
Yes, it does sound weird, and according to Merriam-Webster, this trailer caused lookups for symbiote to skyrocket. But they said despite symbiote being the more common way to say it, symbiote is also an acceptable pronunciation. So for anyone who has a problem with it being bi, it's actually okay for it to go both ways. And real quick, we see another test subject strapped in the lab. This could be another one of the 5 symbiote spawns, perhaps Raymond Hernandez, who becomes Lasher. But notice how the monitors that the shot cuts to actually read Subject Brock. So this is from a different scene. I'm guessing those shots of Eddie Brock in the MRI, screaming as the symbiote takes over. By the way, I'm not sure that's an MRI exactly, because those monitors are measuring decibels and sonic frequencies, which are known to aggravate the symbiote. That's how Peter Parker scared it off. But MRIs use radio waves and electromagnetic energy, not sonic waves. There was a lot of nerd stuff there, so let's move on to the next section.
I'm feeling really sick. I'm hearing a voice.
In this section, Eddie investigates the Life Foundation labs after hours, seeing this one female test subject. This could be Donna Diego, Scream, or Leslie Gesneria, the symbiote Agony. Notice how her enclosure appears to have frost on the floor with ice on the surfaces. Now, it's not clear if this is being caused by lower temperatures in the lab or a side effect coming from the woman herself. Whoever she is, she escapes and jumps on Brock. This could be how Brock gets infected with the symbiote. Notice how, as he runs out of the lab, he's holding his head in his neck with his hand, almost as if he was bitten there, or maybe the symbiote got into his ear. Ugh, gross. We see the symbiote begin to infect Eddie's body, causing this creepy, inky effect in his pupils. And then one of my favorite elements of this trailer, the voice of Venom. I'm loving the vocal effect and the sound editing, giving Venom this deep, demonic rasp. Many of you were wondering who is doing Venom's voice, but from what I can tell, it's possible this is just Tom Hardy himself with a few audio effects. Either way, the contrast between Tom Hardy's voice for Eddie Brock and the voice we hear from the symbiote in his mind is giving this movie a really cool Jekyll and Hyde element that really cuts to the core of what makes Venom such a cool character. Let's move on.
You're not real. You were just in my head.
I'm gonna need Mr. Drake's property back.
I don't know. Why would we do that?
Okay, in this clip, Eddie takes out a bunch of grunts from the Life Foundation, coming to reclaim what he stole. So I'm guessing whatever Eddie got infected with was the full symbiote sample that Drake no longer has, as opposed to some kind of infection from one of the already exposed test subjects. The leader of these grunts is Roland Treese, played by Scott Hayes. It's interesting to see Venom's powers in action here. The symbiote forms into these tendrils that protrude out of Eddie's limbs and back to attack these guys. Now, it's a little tricky, because traditionally, Venom takes a sticky web form because it's mimicking Spider-Man. It was attached to Peter Parker before Eddie Brock, and it remembers those spider abilities. So here, it wouldn't totally make sense for Eddie Brock's symbiote to sling inky webs around, because Spider-Man hasn't been in the picture. Now, he might make a cameo in this movie, but he won't be a major part of Venom's origin here. But I guess it doesn't matter, because really the star of this is Tom Hardy's acting. His reaction to all this seems very natural and naturally confused. His delivery on why would we do that shows how his identity is cracking into two parts. And one last thing, if you were me, you probably noticed the big kitchen knives hanging on the wall right by the door. Now, I know this is like a studio apartment, but it's not the safest place to set knives. Now, this movie is aiming for an R rating, so it wouldn't surprise me at all to see those knives get used in the fight in some very graphic way. Let's move on.
If you're gonna stay, you will only hurt bad people.
The way I see it, we can do whatever we want. Do we have a deal?
Okay, here's some shots of this great street chase with Eddie trying to outrun these projectile drone missiles. Also, Eddie struggles for control against the symbiote presence.
You will only hurt bad people.
Remember, Venom is the hero of this movie, so he can't be all bad, unfortunately. This shot of him looking in the car window before getting slammed back against a brick wall makes me think we might see him talking to Venom's presence in the reflection of the glass. Maybe actually we'll get some little nods to Norman Osborn talking to his evil reflection in the first Spider-Man film. I could watch Willem Dafoe talk to himself in a mirror all day long. Let's move on to the next clip.
Are you willing to sacrifice the one thing you hold most dear?
In this section, we see some more cool shots of this chase sequence. Eddie's tendrils grab the steering wheel of the SUV pursuing him and then blows back both vehicles. We also see Eddie taking a jog through the woods and then smashing through this fallen tree, suggesting that the symbiote is enhancing Eddie's own strength, even when Venom hasn't taken over. There's also this shot of Anne looking up in concern. Now check out the furniture of this room. This is the same location as that overhead shot where a ton of office employees and desktops were getting swept away. Now in my last trailer breakdown, I got into some theories on what could be causing this, since this kind of telekinesis isn't really one of Venom's powers. But apparently the target of this attack is Anne. Chew on that as we move on to the final section.
You should be extremely afraid.
What the hell are you?
We are Venom.
After a quick shot of the symbiote spreading across Eddie's face, there's this quick shot of Eddie re-confronting Carlton Drake, telling him, "You should be extremely afraid." To me, this sounds like less of a threat as it does a genuine warning. It's almost like Drake has captured Eddie and plans to go further with his experimentation, and Eddie's saying, "Trust me, you should be very afraid of this thing." Now, one thing that's been missing from these trailers is the villain that was announced last year, Carnage. It was rumored that Woody Harrelson would be playing the role. In the comics, Carnage was created when Eddie Brock shared a prison cell with the serial killer Cletus Cassidy. Eddie's symbiote produced an offspring that bonded with Cassidy, turning into the far more violent and sadistic Carnage. My guess is that if Carnage does indeed come into the story, he'll be revealed in a later trailer, perhaps something this summer, like at Comic-Con. And maybe creating Carnage is what Carlton Drake is trying to do here in this scene with Eddie. And then after a quick shot of Eddie getting some serious air on his motorcycle and his symbiote tendrils reattaching him to it, we get the real money shot of this trailer. Ooh boy, I love the way Venom's toothy mouth closes over Eddie's head as if it's literally swallowing him, reflecting the way Venom swallows Eddie's identity to take over, along with Eddie's voice transforming from his normal tone to the deeper, more animalistic tone.
We are Venom.
Several rows of teeth, the long drooly tongue, and the slimy texture all perfectly adapted from the character's classic design. But one big question here is what emblem, if any, appears on Venom's chest? Now it's hard to tell from the wide, full body shot if there's anything there. In the comics, Venom's emblem is a white spider, a bizarro version of Spider-Man's emblem since his identity was a mirrored version of Spider-Man's identity. But again, since Spider-Man probably isn't going to be part of Venom's origin here, it wouldn't really make sense for his emblem to be anything spider-related. But notice those white-colored veins on Venom's shoulder. Those could be connected to some white design on his chest. Some sources are suggesting that it could be a large V. I guess it's a little silly, but don't knock it. I got a big V tattooed on my chest for Voss. Wait, no, not for Virgin. Damn, people are gonna think that. But what connection do you want Spider-Man to have in this story? Is it possible to have Venom without Spider-Man? Or can the anti-hero exist on his own? Seriously, movie execs at Sony are dying to know. Comment down below with your thoughts or tweet me directly at EA Voss and follow New Rockstars on Twitter for updates on our videos. Like and share this video and subscribe to New Rockstars for all of our deep dives into Venom and Spider-Man and everything Marvel related. Seriously, we're doing a ton of stuff on Infinity War this week, so be sure to check out all of those great deep dives. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.